700 years of preparation, 18 generations of military training, the most obsessively detailed invasion plan in galactic history. And it all crumbled to dust in 9 minutes because nobody thought to mention that humans occasionally wear socks with sandals and consider this normal behavior. The Quiltaxians were perfectionists. Not the kind of perfectionists who organize their sock drawer by color, mind you. No, these were the kind of perfectionists who spent 3 centuries debating the precise shade of purple for their military uniforms. Then another century arguing about whether the buttons should be matte or glossy finish. When they discovered humanity in the distant year 2324, their immediate response wasn't panic, curiosity, or even mild interest. Their immediate response was to convene the first subcommittee for the analysis of potential future strategic considerations regarding the recently discovered carbon-based life forms of the third planet orbiting the star humans call Sol. The committee name alone took 6 months to finalize. Grand Marshal Trixworth 42 stood before the assembled masses of his species, all 17 billion of them, in the great amphitheater of bureaucratic excellence. His forearms gestured dramatically as he announced what would become known as the longest official declaration in the history of organized warfare. Citizens of the glorious Quiltaxian Republic. His voice boomed across the stadium, which had been specifically constructed with acoustics calculated to make even the most mundane announcements sound earth-shatteringly important. After extensive deliberation, thorough analysis, comprehensive evaluation, detailed examination, and several tea breaks, the Council of Strategic Oversight has reached a conclusion of monumental significance. The crowd of blue-skinned, four-armed beings leaned forward with the collective anticipation of people waiting for the season finale of their favorite television show, which, incidentally, was called Proper Forms Filing Procedures, and had been running for 400 seasons without a single plot twist. "We have discovered," Trixworth 42 continued, pausing for dramatic effect that lasted exactly 47 seconds because they had calculated this to be the optimal duration for maximum audience engagement, a species that may potentially, possibly, perhaps represent a future threat to our perfectly organized way of life. Gasps echoed through the amphitheater. Several Quiltaxians fainted. Others began hyperventilating into paper bags that had been distributed for precisely this purpose, as per Protocol 847B for managing civilian panic during official announcements. "These creatures," the Grand Marshal announced, "call themselves humans. And according to our preliminary intelligence gathering, they exhibit disturbing tendencies toward chaos, unpredictability, and something our xenobiologists have classified as creative problem-solving, which appears to involve making decisions without proper committee approval." More gasps. Someone in the back row shouted, "That's impossible!" "I'm afraid it gets worse," Trixworth 42 said solemnly. "Our scouts report that humans regularly eat food items in combinations that have never been properly tested for safety or efficiency. They consume something called pineapple pizza, which our nutritional experts have declared to be either a war crime or evidence of severe mental dysfunction." At this point, several Quiltaxians actually passed out. Emergency medical teams, trained for precisely such contingencies, rushed to assist them while filling out the appropriate medical emergency response forms in triplicate. "Furthermore," the Grand Marshal continued, his voice rising to operatic levels, "humans appear to operate motor vehicles while listening to loud musical sounds, sometimes even singing along. They make decisions based on something they call gut feelings rather than comprehensive data analysis. And most disturbing of all, they have been observed wearing clothing items called Hawaiian shirts in professional environments." The crowd erupted into chaos. Well, Quiltaxian chaos which involved a lot of very organized shouting and the formation of several impromptu committees to discuss how to properly react to the shocking news. Therefore, Trixworth 42 bellowed over the commotion, I hereby establish the grand strategic initiative for the eventual and methodical subjugation of the human menace. We shall study these creatures. We shall understand their chaotic ways. We shall prepare countermeasures for their unpredictable behavior, and in exactly 700 years, when we have achieved perfect readiness, we shall conquer them. The crowd cheered with the enthusiasm of tax accountants who had just discovered a new deduction loophole. The sound was like 17 billion calculators celebrating simultaneously, and so began the most thorough, obsessive, and ultimately pointless military preparation in the history of organized warfare. The Quilthaxians built training facilities that covered entire continents. They created simulation chambers so detailed that they included virtual humans who complained about traffic, argued about sports teams, and made inexplicable decisions like putting ketchup on expensive steaks. They developed psychological profiles of human behavior that were more comprehensive than humans' understanding of themselves. Colonel Brixworth 19, great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson of a founding committee member, had spent his entire 400-year lifespan preparing for this single mission. He could recite every known human idiom, explain the cultural significance of something called Black Friday shopping, and had memorized the complete lyrics to over 40,000 human songs, including several that humans themselves had forgotten existed. According to Intelligence Report number 47,293-851, Brixworth 19 announced to his officer corps, reading from a data pad the size of a small refrigerator, humans exhibit profound emotional distress when their electronic entertainment devices lose power. We have therefore developed the Systematic Electronic Device Disruption Protocol, which will cause immediate panic and total societal collapse. His staff nodded approvingly. They had spent 60 years perfecting this protocol, including detailed studies of human behavior patterns when their smartphones stopped functioning. The simulations showed a 98.7% probability of immediate surrender once humans realized they couldn't access something called social media. Lieutenant Commander Frixworth 8.2 raised one of his four hands hesitantly. Sir, our xenopsychologists are still debating what exactly social media is. The best theory we have is that it's some kind of collective consciousness sharing device, but the data suggests humans use it primarily for looking at pictures of food and arguing with strangers about politics. Irrelevant, Lieutenant Commander. The important thing is that they become severely agitated when they can't access it. Our studies show that humans check these devices an average of 247 times per day. Clearly, these devices are critical to their survival. But, sir, pressed another officer, Major Grixworth 12 3/4, if the devices are so critical, why do humans also complain constantly about how much time they spend using them? Our intercepts are full of humans saying things like, I need to spend less time on my phone and social media is ruining my life. Colonel Brixworth 19's eye stalks twitched slightly. That's obviously some kind of reverse psychology warfare tactic. Humans are clearly more devious than we initially calculated. Make a note. Increase training protocols by another 50 years. The Quilthaxian military machine was a marvel of over-engineering. They had ships designed specifically to counter human weapons they'd observed in something called action movies, not realizing these were fictional entertainment rather than documentary footage of human military capabilities. They had entire squadrons trained to defend against kung fu masters and superheroes, having somehow concluded that all humans possessed supernatural fighting abilities. Their intelligence reports were masterpieces of misunderstanding. After centuries of intercepting human communications, they had developed theories about human society that were both impressively detailed and completely wrong. They believed that humans worshipped a deity called the customer, who was always right. They thought rush hour traffic was a daily religious ritual involving vehicular meditation. They had concluded that humans reproduced by sharing something called memes, which they classified as a form of digital DNA. Captain Pricksworth 5 had specialized in human recreational activities, spending 2 centuries analyzing what humans did in their leisure time. His reports read like the observations of a very confused anthropologist studying an alien civilization. Humans, he reported to the Strategic Planning Committee, engage in a bizarre ritual called weekend. During this period, they deliberately wake up later than usual, despite having more time available. They then proceed to complain about not having enough time to accomplish their goals. They consume large quantities of something called brunch, which appears to be breakfast food eaten at lunchtime, while simultaneously declaring this to be a special and sophisticated activity. Furthermore, Captain Pricksworth 5 continued, humans voluntarily engage in activities they call exercise, which involves deliberately making themselves tired and uncomfortable, then paying other humans for the privilege of doing so. They join institutions called gyms, where they lift heavy objects repeatedly, despite these objects serving no practical purpose beyond being lifted. When questioned about this behavior, humans respond with phrases like getting swole and summer body goals, which our linguistic experts have been unable to decode despite decades of analysis. The committee members took careful notes, adding these observations to their ever-growing database of human irrationality. Most puzzling of all, the captain concluded, humans engage in a practice called vacation, where they travel to locations specifically to do nothing productive, then complain about needing a vacation to recover from their vacation. They take pictures of their food, send these images to other humans who weren't present to eat the food, and consider this a meaningful form of communication. Admiral Pricksworth 23, Supreme Commander of the Invasion Fleet, had built his career on understanding human weaknesses. His masterwork was the Comprehensive Analysis of Human Psychological Vulnerabilities, a 50,000-page document that identified precisely how to break the human spirit. Humans, he explained to his senior staff, have a critical weakness called social anxiety. They fear being judged by other humans, particularly in situations involving public speaking or social interaction with unfamiliar individuals. We shall exploit this by forcing them into awkward social situations. Our invasion protocol includes mandatory small talk, surprise birthday parties for people they don't know well, and making them explain why they've been quiet at meetings. They'll surrender within hours. The staff nodded sagely. This plan had been tested extensively in simulations, where virtual humans had indeed shown signs of distress when forced to participate in icebreaker activities or explain their weekend plans to strangers. Additionally, Admiral Pricksworth 23 continued, humans suffer from something called imposter syndrome, where they believe they're not qualified for positions they actually hold. We'll exploit this by asking them to justify their job titles, explain their qualifications, and describe their long-term career goals in front of their peers. The psychological devastation will be complete. The invasion fleet that finally departed for Earth was less a military force than a floating monument to overthinking. 7,000 ships, each one designed for a specific aspect of human psychology that the Quilthaxians had spent centuries analyzing. There were ships equipped with weapons designed to create mild inconveniences, vessels loaded with forms that humans would be required to fill out in triplicate, and an entire dreadnought dedicated to playing hold music at volumes calculated to induce maximum irritation. Their approach to Earth's solar system was a masterpiece of tactical precision. Every movement had been planned, rehearsed, and refined over generations. They arrived in perfect formation, their ships arranging themselves in geometric patterns that had been mathematically proven to inspire awe and terror in carbon-based life forms. Admiral Cricksworth 23 stood on his command bridge, surrounded by displays showing real-time analysis of human communication networks, weather patterns, traffic conditions, and social media trending topics. His forearms moved across control interfaces while his eye stalks monitored dozens of information streams simultaneously. "Citizens of Earth!" His voice boomed across every communication frequency the Quilthaxians had identified, from radio waves to cellular networks to something called Wi-Fi, that they still didn't entirely understand but knew was important. "I am Admiral Cricksworth 23 of the Quilthaxian Imperial Fleet. We have come to your system after 7 centuries of preparation. We know your every weakness, understand your every fear, and have developed countermeasures for your every possible response. Surrender immediately, and we promise your subjugation will be conducted according to proper protocols." The response from Earth came back in 12 seconds. "Excuse me, what?" The Admiral's confidence didn't waver. This was exactly what their models had predicted. Initial confusion, followed by denial, then bargaining, anger, and finally acceptance. Humans were nothing if not predictable. "You heard correctly, inhabitants of the 3rd planet. We are here to conquer your world. You have exactly 1 standard galactic hour to begin surrender proceedings, or we shall be forced to implement Phase 2 of our strategic subjugation protocol." "Okay, hold on," came the human voice, slightly muffled, as if the speaker was covering their microphone. "Janet, get over here. Some aliens are trying to conquer us or something. Do we have a protocol for this? Should I transfer them to customer service?" Admiral Cricksworth 23's eye stalks began twitching in a way that indicated severe confusion. Customer service? Customer service? Humans were treating a galactic invasion like a misrouted phone call. "This is not a customer service issue," the Admiral sputtered. "This is a military conquest. You are being invaded by a technologically superior civilization." "Right. Okay. I hear you," the human voice replied, with the tone of someone who dealt with difficult customers for a living. "But here's the thing, Admiral... Sorry, what was your name again? I didn't catch it the first time." "Admiral Cricksworth 23. "Right, Admiral 23. Listen, I'm just going to be straight with you here. It's Monday morning, I haven't had my coffee yet, and you're calling during our busiest time. Can you maybe invade us on, like, a Thursday afternoon? Things are usually pretty slow then." The Admiral's forehands froze over his control panels. 700 years of preparation, and the humans wanted to reschedule the invasion. "You cannot reschedule a military conquest," he bellowed. "We have a schedule to maintain. Do you have any idea how much planning has gone into this operation?" "Oh, I totally get it," the human replied sympathetically. "Planning is a nightmare, right? Tell you what, let me transfer you to our events coordination department. They handle all the big group activities. Hold on just 1 second." Before the Admiral could protest, the line filled with what Quilthaxians had identified in their research as hold music. Specifically, it was an instrumental version of a song called "The Girl from Ipanema," played on what sounded like a malfunctioning keyboard. Commander Cricksworth 14 looked up from his tactical display. "Sir, are we on hold?" "Apparently," the Admiral snapped. "This is not how invasions are supposed to proceed. According to our models, humans should be either cowering in terror or mounting organized resistance. They should not be treating us like a catering company trying to book a wedding." Lieutenant Cricksworth 7.9 raised a tentative hand. "Sir, should we begin Phase 2 while we're waiting? The psychological warfare protocol?" "No, we follow the plan exactly as rehearsed. If we deviate from the sequence, we could compromise the entire operation. We wait for their surrender negotiations to begin." The hold music continued. It was joined by a cheerful, recorded voice that periodically announced, Your call is important to us. Current wait time is approximately 8 minutes. Thank you for your patience. 8 minutes into the hold music, Admiral Cricksworth 23 was beginning to understand why humans had such strong emotional reactions to their electronic communication systems. The repetitive melody was creating what he could only describe as aggressive irritation in his neural centers. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Ricksworth 6, "we're receiving multiple incoming transmissions from the planet's surface. Should I put them through?" "Finally, yes, put them through immediately." The screen flickered to life, showing not one human but dozens of them, all talking at once in what appeared to be some kind of conference call chaos. "Hi there," said a cheerful woman with short blonde hair. "I'm Patricia from Events Coordination. I understand you're interested in some kind of invasion experience. That sounds super fun. How many people are we talking about? Will you need catering? Do you have any dietary restrictions?" What? Invasion experience?" the Admiral sputtered. "Oh, yes, we do themed events all the time. We had a zombie apocalypse thing last month that was really popular. Medieval Siege was a huge hit, too. Alien Invasion sounds like it could be amazing. Are you thinking more Independence Day style, or were you going for something more like Close Encounters? Because the lighting requirements are totally different." "This is not an event. This is an actual military invasion." Patricia's expression didn't change. "Oh, absolutely. We totally understand the importance of authenticity. Our clients always want the most realistic experience possible. That's what makes it fun. So, alien invasion, got it. Are you planning to do any actual planet destroying, or is this more of a take me to your leader type scenario?" Before Admiral Cricksworth 23 could respond, another human voice chimed in from somewhere off-screen. "Patricia, make sure to ask about insurance. Remember what happened with the medieval siege when someone actually brought a catapult?" "Great point, Steve." Patricia nodded enthusiastically. "So, Admiral 23, was it? Do you have liability insurance for your invasion fleet? Because if anyone gets hurt during the event, we need to make sure we're covered." The Admiral turned to his staff with an expression of complete bewilderment. "Are they asking us for insurance documentation?" Commander Ricksworth 14 checked his tactical manual. "Sir, there's no protocol for insurance requirements during planetary conquest. Should I contact the Quilthaxian legal department?" "No! We are not filing insurance paperwork. We are conquering this planet." Right. Patricia nodded understandingly. "But the thing is, Admiral, we can't really authorize any conquering without proper insurance. It's a liability issue. What if someone trips over a death ray? What if there's property damage during the subjugation process? We could get sued." "Sued? You're worried about being sued during a planetary invasion?" "Well, yeah," Patricia replied, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. "Have you seen how litigious people are these days? Someone stubs their toe during your invasion. Next thing you know, they're claiming emotional distress and demanding compensation. It's a nightmare." Admiral Cricksworth 23 felt something that Quilthaxian military training had never prepared him for, the crushing realization that his enemy was more concerned about paperwork than planetary conquest. "Listen," Patricia continued, "I can see you're really passionate about this invasion thing, and I want to help you make it happen. But we're going to need some documentation first. Do you have a business license for interplanetary conquest? What about environmental impact assessments? Because if you're planning any orbital bombardments, we need to check with the EPA first." "Environmental impact assessments? Oh, absolutely! You'd be surprised how strict they are about atmospheric contamination these days. And if you're planning to use any kind of alien technology that might affect local wildlife, we'll need studies showing it won't harm endangered species." "The spotted owl lobby is brutal." The Admiral looked around his command bridge at officers whose training had covered every conceivable military scenario except being asked to fill out environmental paperwork by their intended victims. "Sir," whispered Lieutenant Ricksworth 7.9, "should we just Start shooting at things. Maybe that would clarify our intentions. No, the Admiral hissed back. We follow protocol. Maybe if we demonstrate our superior technology, they'll understand we're serious. Patricia, the Admiral said, trying to regain control of the conversation, allow me to demonstrate the futility of resistance. He gestured to his weapons officer. Activate the intimidation display. Show them our technological superiority. The Quilthaxian fleet began an elaborate light show that had taken 50 years to choreograph. Energy weapons charged and discharged in carefully calculated patterns designed to inspire terror. Ships moved in precise formations that showcased their advanced maneuvering capabilities. Holographic displays projected images of previous conquests across the sky above Earth's major cities. "Ooh!" Patricia exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "That's gorgeous. The lighting effects are incredible. Steve, are you getting this on camera? This is going to look amazing in the promotional materials." "Getting great footage," came Steve's voice from off-screen. "The hologram thing is especially cool. How are you doing that? Is that practical effects or CGI? It's advanced Quilthaxian technology," the Admiral said weakly. "Well, it's beautiful," Patricia gushed. "You guys are really committed to this. I have to ask, what's your budget for this event? Because if you can afford this level of special effects, we could probably do something really spectacular. Maybe get some celebrity cameos? I bet we could get some local news coverage." "Our budget? Yeah, I mean, this looks expensive. Those ship designs alone must have cost a fortune. Are you guys part of some movie studio? Netflix? Disney? Because this level of production value is insane." Commander Rixworth 14 leaned over to his Admiral. "Sir, I think they believe we're some kind of entertainment company." "I can see that, Commander, but why? Why do they think an obviously superior military force is here for their amusement?" Meanwhile, Patricia was still talking. "Oh, and we'll need to coordinate with local authorities for crowd control. An event this size is going to draw huge crowds. We should probably set up ticket sales, maybe some merchandise booths. Do you guys have T-shirts? Because I survived the alien invasion T-shirts would sell like crazy." The Admiral's voice rose to a pitch that made his communications equipment squeal with feedback. "We are not selling T-shirts. We are here to conquer your planet." Right, the conquest thing," Patricia nodded enthusiastically. "That's the theme. I get it. Very immersive. But seriously, the merchandising opportunities are huge. We could do alien invasion snow globes, replica ray guns, maybe some kind of conquer your own planet board game. The kids would love it." At this point, Admiral Crixworth 23 experienced what Quilthaxian medical professionals would later classify as a complete cognitive breakdown. His brain, trained for centuries to expect logical responses to overwhelming displays of military might, simply could not process humans who wanted to turn his invasion into a theme park attraction. "Sir," reported Captain Brixworth 19 from the surface, "I've landed my scout team as ordered, but we're encountering some unusual circumstances." "Define unusual, Captain." "Well, sir, we landed in what our intelligence identified as a strategic military installation, but it appears to be some kind of recreational facility. There are humans here voluntarily engaging in physical combat with each other, but they're calling it mixed martial arts and selling tickets to watch. Are they training for resistance against our invasion?" "No, sir. They appear to be doing this for entertainment purposes. And, sir, when we announced our presence and demanded surrender, they asked if we wanted to participate in what they called amateur night. They seem very excited about the prospect of alien fighters." "They want you to fight for their amusement?" "Apparently so, sir. They're offering something called a purse of $5,000 to anyone who can last 3 rounds with their champion. Several of my troops are asking for permission to participate." "Permission denied. You are elite Quilthaxian warriors, not circus performers." "Sir," came another voice, "this is Lieutenant Frixworth 9 from Scout Team Beta. We've encountered similar issues. We landed at what we believed was a government facility, but it turns out to be something called a community college. The humans here have invited us to speak to their astronomy classes about our home planet and galactic culture. They're offering to pay us as guest lecturers. Furthermore, sir, the human in charge of their continuing education program has suggested we might be interested in teaching a course called Introduction to Interstellar Relations. She says it would look great on our resumes. Admiral Cricksworth 23's eye stalks drooped in defeat. Resumes. They're giving career advice to our invasion force. Yes, sir. She also mentioned that we might qualify for their employee discount at the campus bookstore. The reports kept coming, each one more surreal than the last. Sir, Scout Team Gamma reports that they've been adopted by something called a retirement home. The elderly humans there have taught our troops how to play card games and are sharing stories about their grandchildren. Apparently, they find our appearance adorable and keep offering us cookies. Scout Team Delta has been recruited by human children for their soccer team. The young humans are convinced that our superior reflexes and forearm physiology will help them win their league championship. They've offered to share their victory pizza if we help them practice. Scout Team Epsilon landed at a location called a farmer's market, where humans are selling food items directly to other humans. The vendors have invited our troops to set up a booth selling authentic alien cuisine. They're very interested in our food replication technology and think it would revolutionize their catering industry. Admiral Cricksworth 23 slumped in his command chair, surrounded by reports that read like fever dreams rather than military intelligence. Sir, his communications officer announced, Patricia from Earth Events Coordination is back on the line. She says she's spoken with her supervisors and they're very excited about the invasion project. Put her through, the Admiral said in a voice that sounded like the last gasp of a dying star. Patricia's cheerful face reappeared on the screen. Great news, Admiral. We've got approval for your invasion event. Legal says as long as you have proper insurance and environmental clearances, we can make this happen. We're thinking we could do a whole weekend festival. Alien invasion experience. Day 1, first contact. Day 2, the conquest. Day 3, cultural exchange and peace treaties. It'll be amazing. This is not a weekend festival. This is supposed to be the subjugation of your entire species. Right, the subjugation. That'll be the main event on day 2. We're thinking we could set up different zones around the city, maybe have some mock battles, some surrender ceremonies, that sort of thing. Very interactive, and the cultural exchange day will be perfect for families with kids. Mock battles? Mock battles? Well, we can't have real battles, Admiral. Health and safety regulations, you know, but we can make them look totally realistic. We've got some great special effects people who work on local theatre productions. They'd love to collaborate with your team. Commander Cricksworth 14 approached his admiral with what appeared to be a bottle of Quiltaxian anxiety medication. Sir, he whispered, perhaps we should consider strategic withdrawal. Regroup and develop new protocols for dealing with whatever this is. We cannot withdraw. The Admiral whispered back frantically. We've spent 700 years preparing for this. The Council of Strategic Oversight will demand explanations. There will be committees. There will be reports. Sir, came another transmission from the surface. This is Major Cricksworth 15. My team has encountered humans engaged in something called cosplay. They're wearing costumes designed to look like fictional aliens and seem convinced that we're also humans in very elaborate costumes. They've invited us to judge their costume competition and are asking for tips on how to make their alien makeup look more realistic. They think you're humans pretending to be aliens? Yes, sir. They're very impressed with our prosthetics and want to know which special effects company we used. Several have asked for our business cards. Business cards? Yes, sir. Apparently, humans exchange small rectangular cards with their contact information as a form of social networking. They seem to believe we're professionals in the entertainment industry. At this point, Admiral Cricksworth 23's tactical display began showing something that made absolutely no sense. According to his sensors, human military forces around the globe were standing down. Their weapons systems were powering down, their forces were returning to normal activities, and their leadership was responding to the invasion with what appeared to be bureaucratic enthusiasm rather than military resistance. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we're intercepting communications from various human government agencies. They appear to be excited about our arrival. The Department of Tourism is discussing the economic benefits of alien tourism. The Department of Education wants to establish interspecies exchange programs, and something called Hollywood is interested in movie rights to our invasion." Movie rights. Apparently, humans create fictional entertainment based on real events. Multiple organizations are competing to purchase the rights to dramatize our conquest for their entertainment industry. The Admiral stared at his displays, watching as his carefully planned invasion transformed into what humans apparently considered a business opportunity, educational experience, and entertainment spectacle, all rolled into one incomprehensible package. "Sir?" Patricia's voice cut through his existential crisis. "I hate to rush you, but we're going to need some decisions pretty soon. The permits office closes at 5, and if we want to get this invasion scheduled, we need to submit the paperwork today. Also, the mayor wants to know if you'd be interested in a key to the city ceremony. Apparently, it's traditional when important visitors come to town. A key to the city? It's ceremonial, of course, but it looks great in photos, very good for publicity. Speaking of which, do you have a media contact? Because the local news stations are very interested in interviewing you. Channel 7 wants to do a whole segment on invasion logistics, the planning behind the conquest." Admiral Cricksworth 23 looked around his command bridge at officers whose expressions ranged from bewildered to hysterically amused. 7 centuries of the most comprehensive military preparation in galactic history, and the humans wanted to interview him about invasion logistics for their news programs. "Sir," his tactical officer announced, "long-range sensors are detecting incoming vessels from multiple human organizations. They appear to be news crews and something called food trucks." Food trucks? Apparently, humans have mobile food preparation facilities that respond to large gatherings. They're setting up around our landing sites to provide refreshments to the crowds that are gathering to watch our invasion. The Admiral's voice cracked slightly. "They're treating our invasion like a picnic. Furthermore, sir, several human entrepreneurs are selling items they're calling invasion memorabilia to the crowds. T-shirts, hats, and something called commemorative invasion keychains. They're making merchandise out of our conquest." "Yes, sir. Early reports suggest the "I survived first contact" T-shirts are particularly popular." At this moment, Admiral Cricksworth 23 realized something that no amount of military training could have prepared him for. The humans hadn't defeated his invasion through superior firepower, cunning strategy, or technological advantage. They had defeated it through something far more devastating. They had refused to take it seriously. 700 years of preparation, neutralized by a species that responded to existential threats with event planning, merchandising opportunities, and requests for proper insurance documentation. "Sir," came one final report that completed his understanding of just how thoroughly his invasion had failed. "We're receiving a transmission from something called the Better Business Bureau. They want to discuss our invasion practices and whether we're operating according to industry standards." Industry standards? For invasions? Apparently, humans have regulatory organizations that evaluate the quality and ethical practices of various business activities. They're treating our conquest as a service industry and want to ensure we're meeting customer satisfaction guidelines. Admiral Cricksworth 23, heir to the greatest military tradition in Quilthaxian history, slowly reached over and powered down his weapon systems. Not in surrender, not in defeat, but in complete and utter confusion about what was even happening anymore. "Patricia," he said into his communicator, his voice barely above a whisper, "what do we need to do to get this invasion properly scheduled?" "Oh, that's great!" Patricia exclaimed enthusiastically. "I'm so glad you asked. First, we'll need your insurance documentation. Then, environmental impact assessments for any orbital bombardments. If you're planning any mind control activities, we'll need permits from the Department of Mental Health. And if you want to use any of our public facilities for surrender ceremonies, there's a small venue rental fee." "How much is the rental fee?" "For a planetary conquest, I'd say we're looking at maybe $300 per location. But that includes tables, chairs, and basic sound equipment. It's really quite reasonable." Admiral Cricksworth 23 turned to his staff. Do we have $300? "Sir," his logistics officer reported after checking his financial displays, "our military budget is calculated in rare metals and energy credits. I'm not sure how to convert that to human currency." "That's okay," Patricia chimed in helpfully. "We accept all major credit cards. Do you guys have credit cards? If not, we can probably work out some kind of barter system, maybe trade some of that cool alien technology for invasion permits." And that was the moment when Admiral Cricksworth 23, commander of the mightiest invasion fleet in galactic history, realized he was about to negotiate a payment plan for conquering Earth. 9 minutes. From first contact to complete capitulation to human bureaucracy in exactly 9 minutes. Not because their weapons failed, not because their strategy was flawed, but because humans had somehow managed to turn an invasion into an administrative procedure. The most sophisticated military operation in the history of organized warfare had been defeated by event planners, permit requirements, and the human instinct to treat everything as either a business opportunity or entertainment. As Admiral Cricksworth 23 filled out his first ever invasion permit application, he wondered if perhaps his species had been preparing for the wrong war entirely. Maybe the humans weren't dangerous because they were warriors, but because they were something far more terrifying, a species that could bureaucratize anything.